All right, everybody, please rise. Pledge I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to the December Lower Suffolk Township Communications Committee meeting. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from November 19th, 2025. Rob, thank you for providing the minutes. Hopefully everybody had a chance to go over them. Any comments or suggestions or edits? I would just say, it is correctly have it written under public comment. No public comment was offered. I did offer the opportunity for public comments, but nobody offered any public comment back. So if you want to reword that, that would be up to you. I don't care too much. That's just one suggestion I might suggest.
Usually there's a line there that says whether the public was present. And in this case, we did have a number of public present and no comment in the beginning. And then we had one at the conclusion.
Right. And I think for anybody watching now too, is something that we always try to always welcome any kind of comments or contributions. Seeing no other changes, do we have a motion to approve the minutes as posted?
I move.
Sorry. Second, John, second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Minutes pass. Again, Ralph, thank you for putting them together. We do encourage people to check the minutes can be available online because we do not have the last video. Do apologize for that as well. At this point, we do open up the room for public discussion as open to visitors and members of the committee. Do we have any public comments? I would like to say that our visitor last time, Jessica, did reach out and communicate with us and would like to be an associate member. So her name will be on the list as we do the reorganization, as the board does the reorganization meeting this January, the first Monday. And so she was in touch with the township manager today and unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, but she's excited to participate, be involved. So I just want to share that as well. Thank her for her willingness to be involved with the committee as well. Moving on, we have our recurring report times, starting first with the township presence at events. There was a December holiday market where we were able to attend representatives of the township. Grace, if you want to give an update. I was not able to attend this, but please feel free to share.
Yeah, so we did have a presence at the holiday market as well. Our chairman of the board, Keith Bergman, was there, as well as another supervisor, Ed Krause, and they offered really valuable input to a lot of the residents who were having questions about the Alabach property. There's 4 of us there, myself and Holly included, and so we brought the yield plan for the Alabach property, which showed what could possibly happen if we're not able to preserve the property and what developers could do with the land, which really grabbed a lot of attention, which is definitely the point of why we brought it, and then we were able to explain it to them. There was all around very positive feedback. A lot of people, however, thought that the agreement of sale meant that we had already purchased the land, so they were unaware that there will be a referendum in May. So that would be a big push for us to try and get that word out, and the PAC will be doing that. And then there will also be a market in early May, which will be really helpful as the ballot, the primary election will be in the middle of May. So it'll be one last push to get the word out in that format. So it was a very good time, really good turnout. So glad you were there.
Thank you so much, Grace. Any questions?
Go ahead, Tom.
Is the wording on the referendum known yet? Are they drafted that? Or?
Yes, we have put something together with National Lands Trust and all of the staff and supervisors, I believe, that had a chance to look at it. I don't know where we're at with publishing.
The board did authorize at the last meeting with the current language. So what it is, it should be on the website if you were to look at the package from our last meeting as well. But yes, there at this point we did this. It was discussed at this morning's meeting as well. There there may be a need for another meeting to make a final vote in the near future, a special meeting perhaps, and that's something that, I was gonna bring up as well to share some information township wise that we could help. But right now there is wording of the referendum, so we do have that, but we're waiting for the next steps.
Gracie used a term to describe the plan that was posted. What was
The yield plan.
yield plan? I want to be precise with that.
And just for anybody watching, Grace, is that the same plan that was shared in the electronically, I should say, I was gonna say up on the screen, but not everybody was here. Yeah, so electronically at one of the board meetings as well.
Same one, yeah.
Very good. It's important to note that that is not the township's plan. We've had a lot of confusion with that. That's good that people can see what could have happened and the importance of not just preserving this, but perhaps future lands as well.
And one thing I will say is, we were just there to share information, but people would ask, oh, is there a petition I can sign? Is there a place where I can donate? These are all great things. We couldn't accept any donations, but the PAC, the Political Advisory Committee, they may be able to collect funds or donations, to help push forward their campaign. So there's also that to look out for. Just a thought.
Any head count from the December market, or if not, your impression as to whether it was more or less or the same?
Well, it was very cold. I think that it was also an hour longer, so I think there was a really, really good turnout. I wouldn't say that the parking lot was as jam-packed as it normally is, but it was a very steady flow, so I don't know a head count.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, now, just kind of touch up on things that we could take from this as well. What I thought was great is to hear about, well, a couple of things. One is that there was still a lot of questions that people were just completely unaware that there was a referendum today. And I thought that was something that is helpful. And I look forward to hearing back from market reports so we can kind of get an idea, because I think that's a great way to get at least another feel of what the township, residents are thinking or what they're aware of or not aware of. Goals for us. Okay, how can we get that? The early May market is great to hear. I did not know that, we would have that opportunity. And I think that's something that we should really push. And I'm sure there will be efforts amongst the township as well as natural lands. In regards to people wanting to make donations and the PAC, all that coming up, I think that's something that we will monitor and make sure we can let people know how to do that as well. I've had lots of people come up to me with the same requests, and we kind of discussed that this morning, that, the other supervisors too, a lot of people are willing to make this happen here. Very good.
If the referendum passes, is there a target for when the actual settlement will occur?
I spoke with the town manager today, and I believe that they would aim for, that mid to late 2026 time period. So once the referendum is passed, we'll know on to it.
So maybe called the second half of 26.
Yeah.
And I think after that May vote, we would shift our push for what we, for our communication. Obviously, we wouldn't be pushing that vote anymore. We'll kind of go with what the board wants to do at that point. We still have to push that. Very good. No, I think just, another side comment to throw out there. I think the market has been great from what I can see, just from what I've heard in the community. It's a great way for people to see each other and to discuss things about the township as well. So it's wonderful. Thank you, Grace. Any other comments, questions? Moving on, newsletter and email updates. I did receive the recent newsletter, the fall winter, or not would it be fall winter? I believe it's just arrived. Yes. Any updates or anything to add to this as well?
Well, I will save a little bit of an update for a new business.
Okay.
Because we're looking to send another thing out in the beginning of the year, so. Not necessarily a newsletter, but some information. Save the good stuff for later.
Sounds good. Any other comments regarding newsletter and email updates? I will say I do like this is a newer structure that we have. We've only really done this once or twice. I do like where we go here, and I encourage the committee to, if we want to go as we move forward, say, oh, okay, as we're on this topic, let's jump on that. Try not, I will make sure we don't get too distracted or off and keep it as business, but I think it is a good opportunity to discuss any comments that you want to add to these as well.
I had a conversation last week at a local event, and somebody had mentioned that they weren't sure whether they were subscribed to the email or not. And I actually took a few minutes to try to figure out how to send him the link. And at the end, I think the only place I could find the constant contact was the new resident page on the website. And that got me to a form that was not all that attractive. I mean, it just had email, and there was Lower Salford was somewhere in there, but not just in one place. But I made sure, he said he wasn't sure. I said, here's how you can get back to it. But I think there are more opportunities on the page that lead people to, when you create a new page or make one of those updates, than there is leading them to that consistent email newsletter. I don't know what to do with that information, just that it was like, it took me a couple of minutes when I was going to send him a follow-up email to say, here's where to go, to actually navigate to that on the site. And I'm not exactly sure how that could get improved, but I think it should be.
Probably does deserve a space on the homepage, so we can make that happen.
Good. Just another question, when that pop-up that pops up when it comes up, is that the constant contact this one? That's more just, what is that particularly?
That will give you updates to what is happening on the website. So if we post a news article, if our meeting agenda gets uploaded, then you get that notification. So that's a good point, Rob.
I like that the pop-up gives the updated information, because obviously that's the most relevant things, important things. With the email updates too, and this could kind of tie into what we were going to do earlier. I did mention to some of you, before the meeting started, that one of the things discussed this morning was snow alerts. One thing, for example, Public Works. Our Public Works director was saying that he was literally said, we hope to explore ways where maybe we should look at ways to notify, get new ways out there when there is a snow alert. Particularly if something comes quickly. I remember once when I first got into this capacity, there was something where they had some issues up on, I think, like Rupert and Creek, where they had some cars that were still there. But that's something that I'm just curious, because with the email updates, does that go out? Obviously, what is the process? Obviously, we have a process, but what is our current process for something like that? And is that an email? How's that?
So I think honestly that this one may have gotten away because it was on a weekend. I know in the past I've sent out like a snow emergency and information to keep your cars off the road. So I think that was just something that we missed this time around, if I'm being honest. But also would have only been the second time that we've done something like that. So,
and regardless, what would be the process? So obviously, things happen.
Yeah.
But what would be the process? Let's say we hear snow emergency.
well, I'm just going back to last year. I'm not sure maybe putting a procedure into place is something that would benefit us, because last year I was able to get it on the website and send a text blast and an email so people could get their cars off the road. And so just utilizing all those platforms. Social media I believe it was also on social media, so.
Yeah, I was wondering about that myself, because the borough up near Bethlehem are our businesses. As soon as the storm materializes, text, phone call, robocall, but text, robocall, email. And I wonder if I'm not subscribed actually in the right spots, because I don't recall ever getting anything like that from Lower Salford. In terms of process, I'm not sure for myself even how like if I'm signed up in the right spot, because I don't have a recollection of ever having even received the one from last year.
Do you currently receive, for example, maybe one was sent out a few weeks ago when
The last one was gonna be the 5 Point intersection.
the
And
sewer,
WA stuff, that was 6 days ago, I think.
right, the North Penn Water Authority doing work at the
No.
Little Rock Village intersection. Okay,
So I'm not signed up somewhere.
Okay.
Okay, that at least demystifies that. That's something
And I
we'll
was-
take
I was-
offline,
I
that's
was
not a
trying to
general
ask
thing.
because I thought, I noticed it, I didn't get any kind of alert for the snow this time, and I know that I've gotten some in the past, so.
I think
was
that was
obvious.
just something missed.
Yeah. Who declares a snow emergency?
Police department and the public works department, they communicate, but I don't know who makes the final call, but it's a collaborative effort.
And I believe sometimes we declare county-wide and stuff like that, which we are, I know the township has, snow emergency, so we share that as well. Again, we could go on a lot with this, I don't want to go too far off, but I do think, we have some great ideas here, just keeping in mind that we want the staff to not have to work hard, but to find the most efficient way that maybe we could say, okay, well, what can we do? One thing I want to bring up that, Harry mentioned was robocall. I never really thought much of that, or if that's something that we could look into. Again, not to go crazy on it right now. But is that an option of something that the township would invest in? I think, how do I know you're right? For example, school. We start hearing the phone ring. Oh, okay, there's the house phone ringing, there's the email, there's this and that, and all the school alerts, pre-recorded messages. I'm not sure if that's something personally, if I know I have to move my vehicle every time it snows, that's something I might sign up for, so I don't miss that. So that's something else we could explore as well.
I believe that the Ready Monco platform does have that capacity, and I don't know if the individual has to be signed up for it, or if that's a box that I have to check. But it's definitely possible.
Any other comments or questions on these? Again, these are some great ideas I think we can continue to explore as we go down. And then thank you for giving us an understanding of the process here so we can better help make that more efficient as well. Any other comments or questions regarding newsletters and
So
email updates?
when the police and or the township works declare the emergency, how do you find out that they made that decision?
Well, if you can believe it, this has only been the second time it snowed when I've been in this position. So the first time it was just a text message to me from one of them. And so this time, if something got lost or we forgot to mention it, then that was where that error came in. So typically it's just us communicating internally, just a text message. Or if it's
Do
something,
they, as part of the process, are they supposed to? Is there somebody specific, in either one of those groups that, one of their tasks when an emergency is declared is to let me know?
I'm not sure that we have a standard operating procedure for that yet, but as I mentioned, I think that would be a really good thing to put into practice since, if it's during a week and we have to know if our office is closed or delayed, then it's at the top of our minds, but I'm not sure that it was this time, so definitely have to get that in place.
And I think the big difference too is that obviously as time goes on, there's so many more different options, even since we've been enacted and implemented different ways of communication that, before it was, okay, this is what we do. So, it's now there's just more things that, okay, we do have these options too. So, these are great conversations that I think this is. Yeah, it's something I think that could be effective. Robocalls is something that I don't know if it's something the township has ever thought of or looked into, So.
I don't think it's anything that we've looked into. I think that we've maybe assumed that people would prefer text messages and that's why they sign up for Ready Monco. But as I mentioned, that is a capacity that we do have that platform that's have the capacity to send those out. Just in not something that's pre-recorded, though I actually could put my voice in there for people to hear, but mostly it would just be a robo
Right.
reading them. So,
I think that's something that we could, that's where I think we could come in and explore down the roads as we have, want to discuss in the next New Year's. Terry was saying, let's get the surveys back out. Let's see, if that might be something that we could add, just kind of see, because as I say it out loud, I'm like, that's right, we get the phone calls, but I get the phone call and I hear the phone ringing and up Souderton, let me see, on my phone, there's the email, and you're right, so.
I think too. You know, the overarching thing is, if we think back 20, 30 years, this was all stuff that was handled by broadcast media. There would be one call
Exactly.
from the
Yep.
township to say, we're doing this, and people would know to tune into the local station. And, you know, even for the school district, you know, there wasn't text messages and phone calls. If at the most you had a phone tree and you were responsible for the 5 people under you. But I think this is a shift that's not gonna turn the other direction. Like, there is not going to be a mass media in place. It's gonna be fragmented media, and townships and smaller areas have to pick up this responsibility.
That's good, that's a good point. KYW, you listen to your
I
number.
think it's why if it's not in your SOPs already, that it's worth looking at formalizing that. I mean, because I think you're right, you know, so you need that,
I remember watching the little thing on the bottom of the TV or listening to the radio station, and you knew it was alphabetical. So, you know, you were like, okay, masses are coming up.
I believe we were 309, it's easy to remember, let's say it. What's
it,
it?
do you know, or can you find out how many, people have selected Lower Southford within the Ready Monco?
I believe when I send out a text, it goes to over 3,000 recipients. Good number there.
Yeah.
And maybe people outside of the township as well, who's just opted in for alerts. So I get really nervous to press send, so I know it's going to a lot of people.
That's great though, and,
Yeah, that's good reach.
yeah, it is. And I know even like, you know, you might have people outside the township signing up for it probably to better anyway. It could be another relative, another relative, something they want to play. People who are working, absolutely traveling through, yeah. This is great. I think we all kind of agree, and Robbie said it more eloquently than I did, as this new technology comes in, there's new ways of looking at it. I think I would recommend, you know, to the township that considering making sure we have some other options to go out and the stuff that we can continue to explore that kind of falls into what we're already doing, what are the most efficient ways. And I think coming up with our next survey, which I think we should really make a priority to do at the beginning of the year, as we discussed. Get that out, hopefully next meeting, finalize that. These are the questions we're going, let's go, you know, and then that's out there and we will know for sure what we can use, what works the best. It was great to have input from somebody in the audience. I look forward to Jess's input next time as well, to give a different perspective of somebody who seems to be more online savvy than myself, at least, and some of us as well. Which brings us to our next thing, which is website and social media. Again, these are other ways that we can reach people. Do we have any comments or updates or anything that we want to discuss about website or social media? I can say, just off to start this, I think the website is continuing to improve, be more user friendly. At least I find that as I go on each month, each meeting, check it out. I can see the difference. You're doing a great job with that, Grace, and the rest of the staff as well. As for social media,
And without getting into details, any significant changes in the website or other social media?
I think it's something that we've made recently was that interactive item development map, which people are a big fan of, so that was a good idea by you all. Thank you.
Okay.
is there anything that's more popularly shared than anything else from the last month that you noticed? Maybe it was something that had to do with space, or maybe just an alert or hiring of police.
Great. I mean, I will say again that consistently island development is currently one of the highest, has the highest click rate. So like I said, good that we were able to put something out there that was more user friendly. Nothing else really stood out this month.
So I'll say the Harleysville Community Group, which is one of the Facebook groups. The reason that I knew about the 5 Points work by the water company was that a resident took a screenshot of. I can't tell whether this is the Dear Residents email, but they took a screenshot of their email and posted it up to the Facebook group, and there were 21 people on the local group that I guess didn't have it from another avenue. I did what I could to point everybody towards the new resident guide, but I think people are going to get that information. They're going to screenshot the emails that they get. They're going to text it to their friends. They're going to post it up to Facebook groups, and so there is a natural social communication going on with these resources.
That's good to hear. That's another thing that could be considered. Is that something that would it be beneficial for the township to share? They do send out lots of notices, anything from, never doing this, something doing that, or would that crowd the social media? Too much stuff to miss the important things. That I'm not sure. Any thoughts on something like that? So for example, we send a notice out to these blocks. Is that something that the township should share on social media as well to get it going? Or should we just, I personally think right now kind of rely on the people to share it if they wish amongst themselves. So it's usually geographically centered, as I say this out loud.
Everything's important on a different level with different people. I think about the development across from the Wawa. Like there aren't that many people that live there, but it's such a prominent area that everybody's just curious.
Yeah.
So, that's one of those things. But then, if you have something that affects somebody back off of a main road, cul-de-sac off a cul-de-sac, like that's going to be critically important to them.
Right.
And no one else is going to tend to drive by and have that curiosity. So everything's going to be a little different.
I like they said that's one thing we've said nearly on meetings here is that, we have to understand that something across the whole other side of town is very important if it's in your backyard. It's the most important thing the whole year. We do get that. That's
One of
something.
the things that.
Go ahead.
Last year, maybe the prior year, we had a kind of a focus on some of the residential centers. I wonder if going into this year, we make a focus of these online groups. And, we mentioned, I think, last meeting, the idea of establishing a specific ambassador. Somebody who is part of that group and who we know is on Ready Monaco, who we know is getting, the emails and things like that, right? So we know that at least somebody in that group but having spent a fair amount of time reaching out to the physical community centers, I wonder if we spend a significant amount of time figuring out how to improve communication to the online community centers.
Yeah. It might just be getting somebody in there, just sharing occasionally the township posts, which would be effective. There's some of the things that Jess was saying from the audience last night. I think that's a great point though.
Right.
Especially as we get into the new year, something that we can definitely put on the radar to really focus on.
Yeah.
Very good. I'd be curious to see, and this I can find out, and Grace, if you want to look as well. I'm just curious how many alerts do go out per month, per residence. I know it's always variable. There could be a dozen projects in a month. That's obviously out of our control here. And our job is to make sure we get the letters out, whatever work or notifications there are. I'm just curious, and something I might look into or find out, because again, if it's 3 on average a month, maybe that is something we can share. A new announcements was sent to these residents, because I don't think that would hurt anything. The only thing I can see that hurting is if we have 15, 20 every month, then nobody would see some of the other.
But are you asking for a specific channel? Or are you asking in like all channels?
I think all channels. So, for example, where I am, I'm close to a church that was having a pavilion, so I get a notification, this has happened. For the Walpole Letter Rock, I'm within that area, so I got a thing, hey, show up here. My parents didn't receive that. They're not in that 5 mile radius or 3 mile, whatever it was deemed that, or sometimes there are ordinances that require you learn this. And I was curious if we, so let's say people got that walkable letter off one they didn't, but hypothetically, this November, that's what they got. So if that was the only one that went out, perhaps on social media, just on our Facebook, we say, this was sent to these residents. It might be a way to reach them if it goes, they don't receive it for some reason, falls in recycling, who knows what happens. That's just something I'd be curious to see before we would recommend that, but if you could find that number, I can look into that too, possibly, look back.
I will say I haven't sent out and are you referring to mailers?
Yeah, just any kind of mailer that we do, for example, like I said, the walkable letter off these residents, I don't think it happens as often as.
I think of 2 occasions in the past year and a half that I know of, and one was Public Works doing tree trimming
Yeah.
in a neighborhood, and another one was through our engineer contacting a group of residents for if their property might be impacted by a new trail. So it's far and few between, but
Right. A conditional use hearing usually goes out, I think, to the local residents. That was the one I got with the pavilion.
gotcha.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't think there are that many, so that might be something worthwhile to put up there as well.
And it may even, some departments may do that I don't even know about. So
Right.
it's also possible.
Thank you. These are all great inputs. I really think we're giving ourselves a great idea of where to go with these here, but any other questions or comments? Websites and social medias continue to evolve here, so it's always something that I think we're gonna have to discuss here. Moving on, development, open space awareness. We kind of talked about some of this before. Don't want to be too redundant here, but any new updates or anything that wasn't discussed that you'd like to add, Grace, from the township standpoint?
Nothing huge. Actively pursuing some grant applications for Alba, but nothing in terms of a communication standpoint. I know that Natural Lands right now is taking the initiative, and I believe Chris Canavan for that path. And hopefully then they'll get some ideas rolling in. I did bring a FAQ that they wrote up to the Harleysville market, so that may be circulating just a little bit, but not too many of those got passed out.
Where does that FAQ live right now?
Right now, nowhere, because we didn't want to publish it, not in its final form.
It's not, it's final. Yeah, understood.
So that's why I didn't, actually I didn't hand any out, I just referenced it when the residents came.
Would you be able to share at least the interim one with us?
That's definitely possible. Get your input for sure, so I will do that.
And
I mean, I'm just thinking I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, just please.
having these, and I'm sure we all are, you're meeting people, sometimes the opportunity comes up to talk, and I think I mentioned this in an email a while back. I would like to have my elevator speech ready, and have it be consistent, so seeing that would be helpful, just so that make sure you say the right things at the right time.
Right. I think that's a great point, Harry, which kind of leads into another idea, which bounces off of what Grace was saying. Again, we talked a couple times inadvertently about the PAC, Fiscal Action Committee, that would be going together to help with donations and stuff and help making our, push. I think by the end of this year, I'm almost certain that we will have a clear objective. I mean, I know the supervisors that, there may be a special meeting, and when that special meeting comes out, the decision, we will know them by the end of the year. And after the reorganization with the new boards look, that would be our guide, what to go with. So I think that'll be all laid out. Whether there's a certain great idea with the elevator pitch, that's my take too. I want a few things so we stay consistent, so people get to the point, and you've already thought, okay, these are the important things to say, we're not missing anything. That would be something, again, that we would have to, work with the board, make sure that we're pushing the same message there. Very good. Also, I just want to comment again on that roadmap, or not roadmap, on the whole land development processing. That is a great feature. I think that's great that got that as well there. Any other questions? comments? General resident feedback themes.
I haven't talked to anybody on a general level. It's been specifically the stuff about Alabak and email lists and stuff, but I did get my first opportunity to go into the service portal the other day. And it was for a sign on Morewood Road that I guess had gotten knocked down in an accident, one of the no truck sign. And the first thing that I saw was the notification that if the road is, I think it's green, then don't fill this out here because it belongs to PennDOT. And it didn't occur to me that Morewood Road was also a PennDOT road, but it is. And went to the right place, went to the PennDOT system, and they had it fixed within, I want to say 6 days,
Wow.
which is, I mean, that's like a minute in PennDOT time. So like pretty impressive response to that. And it was nice to have that GIS map show up right away and say like, you know, these are the township roads. If you had a question about these, this is where you go with this, and these are the state roads. So it worked. I liked it. That's my general resident feedback.
It's great, it's great. That's great to know that works, especially when it's out of our hands. Any other, we kind of discussed some things that we've heard through the market as well, but any other feedback or kind of consensus that we're hearing amongst residents? I have nothing to add to this right now. All right. Any other comments or even critiques of how we can do this recurring report items? Again, this is a newer thing. I'm kind of getting more of an idea. Okay, let's ask this, keep it flowing here. And I do encourage again everybody to kind of chime in. I think as we do this, I'm seeing that this is taking up a good portion of our meeting, but we're getting some highlights here. And I also know that, future meetings, when we do have something on the schedule, obviously we're going to keep it going at a bigger flow. We have a shorter agenda, so I think it's worthwhile discussing it as well. Moving to old business, Alabak Farm and referendum planning. I, again, don't want to be too redundant. I think we kind of covered where we stand on this, but I do open this up again for any kind of questions or comments regarding our role and what our place is or what we want to do with this as well. Seeing none.
So
Go ahead.
so here's as much as I got out of this session. So
Please.
well, actually add this. So you're expecting some kind of special meeting this month, or something by the end of the year?
Yes.
So we have kind of something happening by the end of the year, which sounded like it will provide what the message will be, what the general message is going to be.
Yes. I
Okay,
know.
I don't need the details, right? So we have something happen at the end of the year, right? And then you were saying in early year, I'm assuming January, that you were planning or starting to think about a newsletter or some kind of information. It sounded like a hard copy, some kind of hard copy.
Right, hoping to get something out similar to what went out in, I believe, 2023, and it was a park map that folded into itself, so it's perfect.
That's good. I don't need the details. Okay. So we have a some kind of board meeting with finalizing kind of what the message is going to be. Then in early part of the year, January, do you know like what you're targeting yet?
We have only begun thinking about it, and I don't think it'll take much to put together, but
Okay, so
first quarter.
so early in the year, then some newsletter is going to go out, right? Which I'm assuming is going to tie into what the board has provided this month, right? To kind of this is the message. This is what we want to do, right? And then this thing in January sounds like it's the first communication kind of driven from that, right? And then there's a big gap. So then the next thing that we talked about was the main market event as a chance to be face to face with people with this same message. Then you have the May vote, And so sometime in May, the vote actually occurs.
That would be
Right. And then sometime in the second half of the year, the actual sale closes. And is that all we know in terms of a timeline of events between now and sale closure?
Within there, and at least at 2 of our board meetings, we'll have presentations from Natural Lands Trust. Those will be heavily advertised, hopefully with the help of you guys. Other than that,
Like which board meetings that are undecided?
The natural lands were at one of our recent board meetings, I think actually between since we've met. And I specifically mentioned that the communications committee was excited to work with them. But again, I'm not sure which meetings, they didn't have a specific meeting as well, so it's my understanding that they'll say, okay, here we go. How can, and that's why I said, just keep us up to date, feed us whatever information that you get. And if I may, John, just to be clear with whether or not, I know I kind of was like the meeting at the end of the year, just to be full disclosure, we had discussion on it at our meeting this morning, which was 7:30 this morning. We also had discussion at our executive discussion. I didn't want to confuse the two. It is public on the thing what we discussed. I didn't want to do anything, but what we did discuss at the meeting was that we did not make an official vote yet to authorize, or we authorized it, but we did not finalize it yet due to, some things that we discussed as well. Again, please check the meeting, but once we're able to finalize that, then we could hold a special meeting, which we would advertise due to standard advertisement processes and make sure everybody knows. We actually did discuss specifically at this morning's meeting that if we do have to have a meeting, we make sure that we explain to people exactly why we're having it around the holiday time, just so people are aware. But that's why there is no clear definition. There were some legal things that were discussed as well. Thank you for laying that out too, I think you laid it out, exactly where we stand with that too.
Yeah, because I think,
Please.
just getting that much out, and solidified, I'll be able to say, okay, here's the progression of events, this is what's gonna happen over the first half of the year. For this effort. And then. Because, we only meet once a month, yes.
But that's only
It'll be
six,
open before it
right?
starts.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and yeah, it's really only 5 meetings. I think it's important, and Grace, if you could too, especially, any kind of meeting or discussion, mention that we're willing to help and able to help, just as a friendly reminder to Natural Lands too. They might say, oh, well, we need help with this, or again, I think our main goal will tie into this as we go into the new year, these surveys, okay, because now we have to get a message out. Well, guess what? The communication committee just determined now this is the most effective way according to our recent survey. And that's why I think we really will stand in on that. Any other questions regarding the All About Farm referendum planning? It's great discussions here. I think we're making a pretty clear path where we will go next year with this. It's only 1 month away. Less than that. Which brings us to new business, revive new resident newsletter. Or just a welcome letter, I think more than welcome letter. This is something that we discussed at our last meeting and we brought up again. Terry, you were mentioning it's worthwhile getting that out there. We could definitely go into this right now as well here, but I think our main goals will be right now, let's lay out the framework of how we want to do this. We did have a letter before. Don't know if I have a copy of it. But we did have a formal letter before. Is that something that we want to change? Do we want to? There we go. City manager letter. As I get this out here, any comments regarding how we want to approach this new resident news welcome letter? First of all, township wise, there wasn't any issues with us sending this before. Do you foresee any changes in that, Grace? From what I can hear, I did talk to our manager a little bit too. I don't think there's any issues with that. But pretty much the process is we want to make sure that we get a letter out to new residents. We have ways with the, we check the leads. Is that something that we would want to go with? I personally think that that seems like the easiest way. We had, and John, you're still familiar with how we could access that again?
So I think I sent instructions to Holly, maybe you, I bet whether you were on board.
I believe it was Holly that managed that the last time, so she takes good notes, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think I sent screenshots and everything for the, the whole process. I'll see if I have the document and we send it to you. It was fairly inexpensive, and
Yeah.
again, as said, the township didn't have a problem with that cost. But there was another data source. It was actually two data sources. It was Leads Please. It was the one that I got the leads from. Then Holly got something from, I think, Montgomery County.
Yeah, I remember she had that other report that, and what we did was kind of cross-reference the ones that are similar or non-duplicates.
Right, and then we took out businesses and the $1 sales and a bunch of stuff, and we ended up a couple hundred, was it, a little bit over 100 or something.
But I think it was almost, it was an exact number. It was an exact, like an even number. I remember that. I want to say, it might have been even a little lower than that, but was that 100 or just over the course of 3 months, I believe? Yeah, because it came down to lower a month. Here it is. I knew I had some copies. My apologies to put them aside. This was the one idea that we had originally. What I can do is make sure, maybe we can, I can take a photo of this and send it around too, but please, just kind of pass that around. I haven't even looked it over right there. And that may not have been the final one that we had adjustments, but that was the kind of idea that we had, and I will make sure we have the final one too. And the idea was that new residents would receive this letter. One thing we noticed just from communications amongst ourselves and comments, that not everybody who was a new resident received that or received the newsletter, was aware. So this is an opportunity to get that out there. My suggestion is, once this, as we go into the new year, do we want to divide up how often we would send it? So for example, let's take January to X, and do we send the newsletter out that month? You know, is it every 3 months? Is it every 4 months? That's something I think we should decide now as we move in. That's something that we can easily discuss here. 100 for maybe it was 3 months sounds pretty good, but again, if we only have to send, I don't want to say less work, but it is less work for the staff. It's been easier follow if we do it 3 times a month. What would the suggestions be?
I think originally we were gonna do it every quarter,
Okay,
but then we decided, okay, the newsletter's coming out that quarter, we wanna do it, but then somehow we just stopped doing it, so. My suggestion is do it twice a year, we do it every
Twice a
6 months, regardless of when the newsletter is coming out, because if the person's not getting the newsletter, then they won't get anything, you
okay.
know what I mean, so. That's just my recommendation.
And I think what happened was we wanted to explore the idea if we could send it out, because we didn't want to send it out twice. You know, if we get it in the newsletter and then we had it in this, so I think we put it in the newsletter with
did,
hopes that
right.
was how we would reach.
But it
It just kind of
missed.
okay, yeah.
Missed the mark.
So 6 months,
So-
that worked.
So will the newsletter always have the new resident welcome letter?
I would say if we're going to send that out 2 times a year for the new residents, then it wouldn't be necessary, so we can use that space for something else.
I kind of agree with that. If we were to implement this, but right now, is it in? I guess another question: is it in there? Was it in the past? No.
It was not in the past winter, fall, was in the spring and summer.
So I think that's where I don't want to say issue, but that's where we are here. So I think we either, yeah, I agree, we might not need to put it in the newsletter if we're sending it out, but we have to decide on one or the other.
Right.
Do we want to waste the space, or it's not a waste of space, but people might say, geez, here it is again. And plus it has that, one of the original things we're saying was that personal touch. You know, you're in a new township, it's that familiarity. And if you could pass that around, I think it would be it too.
I thought that factoring in the newsletter, I thought that the idea was that the newsletter would catch a 3-month period, then we would catch the next 3-month period, and then the newsletter would catch a 3-month period. So if it's not going in the newsletter, right, then should we be doing it on every 3 months. Right? Because the original objective of the whole thing was to try and engage new residents before they start getting newsletters and at some point, hopefully. They're getting newsletters, they're signing up for a Ready Month or things like that, so they're in touch through other channels. But there's a period, we discussed that there's a period of time between the time they move in and 6 months, I think is what we talked about, right? That maybe they haven't gotten the newsletter yet, maybe they haven't been touched yet, and the idea was to kind of fill that gap, right, with the new resident welcome letter.
No, that's a great point. I'm not gonna go on and on, but we figured out, okay, you missed this date, it was this much at a time where they wouldn't have that, you're right. Plus you move mail, it's tricky to get your right thing all set up. I think. As you're speaking to, we don't want to take up the room, but as I pass that, I see the QR codes. Could we have a QR code in each newsletter that says new resident, click here for the new resident welcome, kind of have like a digital page right there. Cover that just in case. I still think we should, if we can do that, that's less room. We could put that, I guess, anywhere, like in an ad space or something, but additionally. Do you remember offhand, John, if we thought it was best to do 3 times or 2 times or 4 times? I think these are obvious options.
My initial feeling was twice doesn't feel like enough.
I feel like if we could do at least 3 perhaps.
And then and
4
that's,
months.
yeah, and then certainly 3 times feels a little bit better.
Mhm.
And then we know the cadence on the newsletter, right? So
That's it.
we sit in control of the newsletter is what, 3 or 4 times a year?
It's just
Yeah.
twice for
Just
now.
just
Yeah.
twice for now.
Do you know exactly, I mean, I know we just got one, but monthly wise, because we wouldn't want to send it out really at the same time.
That's where I was,
I think
that's
that's what
exactly
you're
where I
saying.
was going.
Okay.
Is we're in charge with like, so we know the cadence of the
Mhm.
newsletter. So then you just, if you want to do it every 4 months, it doesn't necessarily need to be on like, kind of this standard sort of fiscal year,
Right.
right? We've got. Time isn't always necessarily bounded by January 1st, 12/31, so we can offset that however we want to offset that so that we're never. Coincidental with a newsletter.
That's great.
I think typically we shoot for the December and May timeline, for spring and
Okay.
winter. The only reason we had it come out a bit earlier this year was to get, in front of the Alabama sale announcement, just to kind of preface the people the importance of it. So that was the reasoning for that. I wouldn't say that that's going to be a trend for us in May and December. I would say it's typical.
I think it's worthwhile to see if, after the board does reorganize, whether the same chairman or not, would like to update the welcome letter as well, since this has his name on there. It's worthwhile, just to double check. And just for anybody else is currently, it says sincerely Keith Bergel, chairman. We did reach out to him and, make sure that this is what we want on. So just not to go too far off, this is great stuff that we're saying, Harry, great job as well, and that's something we can do as it gets closer to that time, we can figure that out as well, but I think our target audience, do we want to target 3 months, 4 months? What is a group consensus? I'm okay 3 times a year, maybe to start. 4 times even kind of works, but I don't think it's necessary. The extra one, I'm not sure.
I
John or
think so,
Rob?
the same thing's gonna happen where it fell apart.
Yeah,
Didn't do
it
it.
gets too much.
Right, because we were planning on doing it 4 times a year,
Uh-huh.
and then with the newsletter, then things got very confusing, and so I
Right.
wouldn't go more than every 4 months.
Yeah, I think that's a good goal.
Or else, because it's better that than not having it at all, which ended up happening this year,
Right.
at the end. So,
John or Rob, do you have any take on this? 2, 3, 4 times?
3 times sounds good.
I think 3 times is a good
I'm good with,
balance. of
I'm
that.
good with 3 times.
Okay, so I think it's and again, I don't think we should, I would love to say, okay, let's just make sure Keith's okay with this, but with the reorganization meeting, we should wait to see where we stand there, but then make sure that we're okay with that on that end. I'm pretty sure whatever was in the newsletter was absolutely our final version. I know we wouldn't have done that otherwise, so we really could keep that as a as a guide of what we want to do. I don't see anything too much that we need to change. It looks good both on paper and it looks good in there as well. And then take a picture of this. So
Both of the constant contact QRs no longer work.
that's something we should definitely be aware of.
Yes, that's important, yeah.
Right, so I think we have some good basics here of how to revive this, just to kind of sum it up here. We definitely want to revive this. We want to we'll probably use the leads and the information that John sent earlier to the township would be our best bet to go with. Correct, John? In order to reach people, the leads, you did send information before, we can pass reference that.
Well, yeah, it was fairly inexpensive and a fairly easy website to navigate. It seemed to work well. And then, you know, if we can still get the Montgomery County information, right, and essentially marry the two. And like I said, I mean, I think in the instructions I had documented all the things that we stripped out.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of stuff that we stripped out to get to what we thought was the target new residents.
So would it be worthwhile then that obviously we want to make sure this is in place, but this really wouldn't be something we would have to really touch until closer to April then? If we're going to go 4 months to collect a collection, then does that sound about right? We want to make that our target, January, April, first 4 months. And so on.
Well, that's what I was just trying to rough out here. I mean, it's not January.
Or do we want to set it out?
Because then you're talking about the letter actually going out in that May timeframe when the newsletter's coming out.
Okay.
So if you kind of, and I mean, I'm just thinking through this, but.
As Harry said, it doesn't have to
Are you
be.
looking,
Right, you're
are
right.
you looking at the letter actually dropping in like February, July, and October? Right, and then you back up from there and said, okay, if the letter's dropping in February, then what you're using is new residents from January, December, November, something like that. And so, you know, if we target dropping a letter in February, using new resident information from January, December, and November, right? And then you have the May newsletter coming out. So you've got a letter going out in February, a newsletter going out in May, and then you target a July letter, which would be like maybe, I guess then you to be consistent, it'd be like February, March, April, May, June with a July letter. Anyway, I mean, I
I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
I think it's
figure
worthwhile.
out, you have to figure out, okay, if you're gonna have a newsletter that you don't want to coincide with in May and December. I mean, and then figure out then based on that, when your letter wants to drop, when your 3 letters are going to drop. And then based on that, back into what your new resident, you know, universe is gonna be.
I personally like what you're laying out there. Go ahead. Harry.
So to say, the other thing is if you use the QR code idea, you're actually dropping 5 in a year. Because if the QR code is in the May and December newsletter that goes out, if somehow or another you miss somebody and they see that and they scan that code,
Yeah.
then you've essentially communicated a new resident letter 5 times in a year, which is plenty. So 3 that are just dedicated to new resident, then you've got these 2 other catch-all opportunities with the QR code.
I like the February idea, July, October.
I think February, July, October
Actually,
feels good
February,
for whatever
June,
that's
and
worth.
October, February, June and October,
Okay.
because June would take care of February, March, April, May. And then October would take care of June, July, August and September.
And what's the volume?
February would be
Running to these
October,
would be
November, December, January.
Divide the churn of new residents over those periods. talking 100 letters.
I believe that roughly, I don't remember if we originally looked at 3 months or 4 months, but I know we came to almost
There
exactly.
was looking at 3 months,
Yes,
it was.
yeah.
Have to go back to the notes and everything, but.
130-ish. So. Yeah, I think this is great. This is great, and I don't want to say start to like put this off or anything, but I think where we are right now is good. I think this is a great start to this. I think we have a good idea for a layout. I think it's worthwhile putting it on our next agenda. And in that time, we should make sure it's shown to the board just before we have our meeting. I think they'll have the work session meeting that morning, so if we could just bring it to the attention before that night to make sure the chairman doesn't have, or the board doesn't have any other opinions. And then I think it's worthwhile at that meeting to say, okay, let's get this out, make sure we know where we're going with this. I encourage you all, definitely, if you have any other ideas or anything on this, you're welcome, please share it now, or if it's something you want to think about, it's definitely worth putting on our agenda and putting this out. I don't want to stray away from too far from what we have in that example that Rob provided in the newsletter, because that's what we decided before work, or we put a lot of work into that, there's no point
No,
changing that.
I don't see significant.
Nah, not at all. I mean, I see somebody looking at it from the board go, yep, looks good to me. That's really what but just to be official. Very good. I think it's great, worthwhile to get this out. As Harry, as you mentioned 5 times, it's great. Those 2 are just in case we miss them, but not everybody is familiar with QR codes, as we find out by going to
Yeah.
Carlisle Market. It's there was a lot of people that I don't want to say I was surprised, but I was surprised. So I just expected it to be, okay, here you go. No problem. It was just more, okay, there's a new perspective. Let me look at that as well. Any other comments on this? Very good. Thank you, everybody, for being good with that. One more time, we do have another call for public discussion or visitor comments.
Well, I do want to take at least a moment, Kevin, to thank you for the innovation that is this committee. And I know that was the start of your term that you put this into motion, and here we are at the end of the term. And I gotta say, even as a relatively new resident here compared to the rest of the table, I appreciate everything that you did to make Lower Salford accessible and to put this together. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
can't take the credit. I've been very blessed to have great staff, great people help me out here in the committee, and a lot of support from residents. But I do appreciate all the hard work that everybody has put into this committee currently and past, and I appreciate the help of Tom and Grace as well. But thank you, Rob. I also appreciate that. But yeah, no, I'm excited and we continue to.
so does the new board start in January, the new board of.
Yes, the first Monday of the new year is a reorganization meeting for all townships and boroughs.
And then as part of that reorganization, they'll decide who the official board representative on the committee will be. So will you become just a member?
So so actually, when we redid that, and remember how the board wanted to make it similar to the park board and others, part of the language that was in there took out the idea, the requirement of being a board member to keep it consistent. So it is technically, in my run, would be up to this go. It would be okay, my communication service, as you all are committed for a year or 2 years. And I did have the opportunity to sign on whether I would like to still be a part of it or not, and I'm definitely still be a part in this capacity. So I will be here. I think it's worth noting that we also will be reorganizing at our next meeting. And I think, Harry, were you on when we started with reorganize, or?
No, this is not.
Okay, and what happens then is Grace would start the meeting officially, and Grace would be the chair of the meeting. We would elect a chair, we would elect a vice chair, and go on from there as well as secretary or any other things. I do foresee a new associate member. I've reached out to a couple people. I don't know. I think the township may have reached back out to those who expressed interest before. The board could always add them by motion, but with the reorganization that the board does, part of that in a collective vote on the agenda is all the new members who are either new members joining committees or, in our committee starts with that. I believe Rob was one of the ones who had to agree as well. His term was up, and Rob, I'm excited to stay on the committee too.
So will there be a new official liaison between us and the board members? Or does that liaison just become Grace?
I believe liaison technically now would be Grace as well, as I part of the committee here, so that is official. I have, obviously comment on things that I'm more aware of, but I will rely heavily on a liaison. I plan to watch the meetings, be involved as a resident, but yeah, obviously they'll have an inside, so yes. our liaisons.
So it may be worthwhile to still have somebody on the board who is kind of, our official liaison, but.
None taken.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've been very, very helpful and supportive and have been doing a great job. But to have somebody, on the board who is aligned, only because I know in your role as both part of this committee and on the board, it was a certain connection, I mean, that I would think we wouldn't want to lose.
We can offer to the new supervisors, see if there's any interest in participation there. As Kevin said, though, it's not required for any of them to do so, so if they're not interested, then that's okay too, we'll do our best to communicate.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have to be the supervisor, just anybody on the board. It's almost like the general question is, would somebody on the new board of supervisors like to be the liaison, not to use that title, so board liaison, board champion,
But I think that's where committee reports are gonna come in. I mean, right now.
That is the difference, right? I was thinking that. too.
You're here. It's sitting in this seat and you give a brief committee report, but
We'll
there
have to make
will
sure.
probably need to be a representative of work sessions.
That's true.
Specifically to give a report on
Or
what the committee is bringing.
they were at the general meeting as part of,
Sorry,
kind of,
general.
no, it's okay, and that's kind of what led us to the recurring report items. We give the committee reports is shared at the general meetings, the first Wednesday of the month. And that's a great point. Definitely be worthwhile to have somebody to give a report, or at least to send a report to the board as well. But I think it's worthwhile to have it. And usually the firefighter representatives and EMS representatives will get their reports as well.
I plan on being at all the board meetings, so I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. All right, very good. Any other questions, comments? All right, everybody, our next meeting will be the third Wednesday of January. Good to look at that, so hopefully we will see everybody then. Do we have a motion for adjournment here?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Gary. Any seconds?
Second.
Terry, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, very good. Grace, thank you, and thank you all, and everybody have a great holiday as well. Happy holidays.
Yes. Good.
Yes, right.